especially with certain guys in rock, where you go, you know, it certainly hasn't been well for a while.
You won't believe how one final song shattered hearts around the world. Imagine this. You're 74. Your body's broken in more ways than you can count. Doctors tell you it's over. Time to rest. Time to let go. But your soul? It's still screaming. Still wild. Still aching for one last roar. That was Ozzy Osbourne, a legend who didn't just sing rock and roll, he was rock and roll. And when he whispered to himself, "This is the last song I'll ever sing," something inside him, and all of us, cracked wide open. That final concert wasn't just emotional. It was spiritual. A man who spent nearly 5 decades ripping open the sky with sound took his last stand on a throne of steel, in front of 40,000 trembling fans. Not to fade quietly, but to remind the world, I'm still here. 2 weeks before the silence came, he gave us one final firestorm. And while the world cheered, death was already waiting in the wings. But that night, he didn't go out a patient. He didn't go out a shadow of who he once was. He went out a titan. And backstage, another legend, Alice Cooper, was getting ready to take the stage when he heard the news. And what happened next? It'll wreck even the toughest heart. Now, if Ozzy's voice ever lit a fire in your chest, or gave you something to hold on to in the dark, hit like. Not for views. For remembrance. Because this isn't just about a concert. This is about a man who gave everything, his body, his soul, his sanity, for the music that saved him. And saved us. The night they called it back to the beginning, the air at Villa Park wasn't just electric. It was haunted. Haunted by the unspoken truth that this was goodbye. Fans flew in from all over the world, clutching old vinyl, shirts worn thin with time, lyrics tattooed into skin. And there, in the center of it all, rolled out in silence, was Ozzy, frail, pale, but with that fire still flickering behind his eyes. He didn't walk out. He was placed atop a blackened throne. And when the lights dropped, the world stopped breathing. But he sang. He sang. Starting with "Mama, I'm Coming Home," his voice cracked and raw, but still unmistakably his. Fans didn't just cry. They screamed. Then came No More Tears, and finally, Crazy Train. Each note wasn't just music. It was defiance. A final scream at the universe that had tried to take him too many times before. And when it ended, he didn't speak. There was no speech. No cliché farewell. Just a tear, a look, a nod. And then, silence. But not the kind that forgets. The kind that remembers forever. Because Ozzy Osbourne didn't just take a final bow. He roared into immortality. Somewhere in that crowd, real lighters, not phone screens, lit the night. As if to guide his soul into whatever comes next. Sharon Osbourne, the woman who stood behind the madness for more than 40 years, watched from the side of the stage. No spotlight on her. But she was the reason it all happened. She'd moved mountains for this moment, negotiated with doctors, managed rock legends, ignored every plea and warning. Because love doesn't follow rules. And Sharon knew, this wasn't just about closure. It was about legacy. About letting him end his story his way. And while he may have doubted himself, whispered, "I'm no one anymore," she never stopped believing. You're still Ozzy, and the world still needs to hear you roar. Backstage after the show, the world didn't know it yet, but the roar was fading. And as the sun rose, the silence spread. That's when Alice Cooper heard the news. "I was walking to the stage when I heard," he said later, his voice cracked, disbelief thick in the air. "That's not right." Those 4 words held everything. No press statement. No flashy tribute. Just raw heartbreak. And when Alice finally took the stage, he didn't speak much. He didn't need to. At the end of his set, he stood still and simply said, "Let's say goodnight to Ozzy." Then it happened. One name. Thousands of voices. Ozzy. 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 It wasn't planned. It wasn't prompted. It was instinct. Grief, raw and roaring. See, Alice and Ozzy weren't best friends. They didn't call each other every Sunday. But they were warriors. Brothers from the same battlefield. They didn't need closeness to feel connected. They'd both survived the madness, stared down the darkness, and made it out still singing. And when Ozzy fell, Alice felt it in his bones. He remembered the studio days. The wild shows in Brazil. The anthem they shared, Hey Stupid. He remembered trading guitarists like baseball cards. Laughing backstage. Passing each other with a nod that said, still breathing. Still here. Now, only one of them sings. And though Alice is still going strong at 77, you can hear the tremble in his voice. Because when a legend falls, the ground shakes beneath everyone still standing. But even through the pain, he keeps going. Because that's what lifers do. And Ozzy was a lifer. He didn't sing for fame or money. He sang because silence was worse than pain. Because music wasn't his job, it was his oxygen. Even in his final stretch, riddled with Parkinson's, struggling through surgeries, unable to hold the mic without help, he still recorded. He still dreamed. And with every lyric on patient number 9, you could hear it, his last confession, his last stand. I'm not afraid to die, he once said. I'm more afraid of not being remembered. But how could we ever forget? Because Ozzy wasn't polished. He wasn't perfect. He was real. His voice cracked. His life burned. And through it all, he gave us himself. Fully. Loudly. Unapologetically. When you watched him stumble through the Osbournes, fumbling the remote or mumbling at the dogs, you didn't see a washed-up rocker. You saw your own dad. Your uncle. Your inner chaos. A reminder that even the mighty are messy. And that's what made him sacred. In those final days, when the world thought he was finished, he whispered one last wish, I just want to sing again, not as a patient, but as a performer. And Sharon made it happen. She didn't announce it to the world. She made it personal. She built that show, brick by brick, detail by detail, from legal battles to lighting cues. And when Ozzy said, I can't do it, she didn't blink. You will, she said. And not because you have to. But because you still can. And he did. July 5th. His stage. His city. His name in lights. One last time. That wasn't a concert. That was resurrection. And when it ended, no one moved. Because that silence? It wasn't emptiness. It was respect. And it echoed louder than any amp. Now here we are. The lights are out. The mic is cold. And we're left asking, what do we do with this silence? Do we let it swallow us? Or do we scream back? Because Ozzy Osbourne didn't go out quietly. He went out roaring. And it's up to us now to carry that roar forward. In our playlists. In our hearts. In every broken voice that dares to sing anyway. So if Ozzy ever meant something to you, if you ever found comfort in his chaos, or strength in his scream, don't let the noise fade. Tell your story. Share his. Leave a comment. Light a flame. Play Crazy Train and crank it to 11. Because the legend may have taken his final bow. But his echo? That will never die. Rest in power, Ozzy Osbourne. The world may have lost your voice. But your roar will live forever.